Alright guys, TechCribber here again today, and we finally have some actual news to discuss here. Team EnVy have announced their roster. Lightning Pandas have unfortunately, well, ceased operations in, I think, esports in general, so we'll go through that along with some other stuff as well. Going to start with some Gfinity stuff. As you can tell, I'm wearing the Lightning Pandas jersey in this one, just as a commemoration for a pretty legendary organisation in Call of Duty, and it's a sad story, but we'll get into that in the course of the video here. So if you guys enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, and let's hop into it. So firstly, a couple of things on CWL London. Because of the bomb threat, if you guys remember, you know this guy Tyler Barris who swatted that guy and I think was in jail for manslaughter or something like that. He got charged recently. A few months earlier in CWL Dallas at the start of the World War II season, he called in a bomb threat effectively. What a guy. And, yeah, so as a result of that, and as a result of other things we've had at esports events over the last couple of years or so, we've had numerous questions about policy regarding bags for spectators and open tournament players. Please make sure that you're aware and spread this around. We will not be able to store your bag should you bring one. Bags that are clear plastic and do not exceed 11 inches by 16 inches by 4 inches are permitted. Approved bags will be available at registration. And yeah, the rest of this, if you want to pause it and read through, I don't want to spend too much time on it. There is also this for pro players. This policy does not apply to pro players, staff, partners, and approved media, which is rather nice. And yeah, well, we also do have this situation where if you have to bring equipment for whatever reason, I just thought I'd make this known to you guys that may be coming, because of course I'll be there. Yeah, so we're opening up an application to obtain a media pass. And yeah, so if you want to contact Chris Track, you can do that. And I love how they have Teddy Rex in the background of these pictures. I really don't know why. Anyway, let's get on with the content. So, these are the changes announced by Team EnVy. We have 18th of April, acquisitions, Decemate and Fero from G2 and 100 Thieves respectively. Now, this is a great change, I think, for EnVy overall. I think their team just got really, really good. I really like this acquisition. They've made these couple of players. We'll go through this in more detail in a second here. Of course, this has been rumoured for a while. So, the team is now going to be Aches on the ICR that we're looking at in a second, Huke and probably Decimate on the SMGs, Silly and Fero on the Maddoxes, and then, as I say, Aches on the ICR. There was a lot of rumours around how this team could have gone. It was at one point rumoured that the entire team was going to go apart from Huke. There was, of course, this potential that I did talk about that Scraps and Zero were potentially even, had an offer here from EnVy to come onto this team, maybe even alongside Decimate and Fero, which would have been quite a ridiculous squad, but without a leader. Aches, of course, has managed to finesse his way to maintain a spot on this team, which I think makes a lot of sense, to be honest, but we will go into more detail on in a second. Supposedly, that's why Silly was playing with Scraps at the Toronto event to try and effectively recruit him to the EnVy squad. Didn't work out. They decided to go for FaZe, as it seems right now. We'll talk about that in a couple of videos' time, probably when that is finally announced. And personally, I think this squad is better than the rumoured FaZe roster. Not exactly sure why Scraps and Zero decided to turn down EnVy, even though I do know it is highly rumoured that Scraps and Decimate have some sort of beef, which I talked about in a couple of videos ago. Likely because, if you know Kieran, oh my god, love, she was Decimate's girlfriend, some other guy's girlfriend before that, now she's with Scraps, so, classic stuff, really. Apathy has been transferred onto this Evil Geniuses team, and we do not know the rest of the team yet, but it is rumoured to be along the lines of Attach is still there, and then it's rumoured to still be Exotic. Royalty has gone over to UYU, so, we can talk about that maybe when that's officially announced in a couple of days' time, I guess, even though it is set in stone behind the scenes, and they've been playing in scrims and the like. And then also JCab is rumoured to come into EG, and also Phantoms, I think, is one of the rumoured players. It was an interesting roster, as I said. We'll discuss that when that is dealt with. An Assault moved to restricted free agent. Where he will end up, nobody knows right now. So this is the update they have on EnVy's website here, basically. Team EnVy is excited to welcome 2 new members to our Call of Duty roster. Newcomers Decimate and Fero will be will join returning players Huke, Aches and Silly. With our new and updated roster, we're excited about the future, etc, etc. Decimate returns to EnVy after a hiatus with G2 Esports, reclaiming his former role of SMG support. Across the scope of his professional career, Decimate has contributed to multiple top tournament finishes and an impressive collection of accolades. So yes, one thing to remember here is that Decimate used to be on the EnVy squad towards the end of the World War II season, where he was honestly very good, and he's continued that form into this game. Of course, maybe some of you guys remember I'm pretty sure it was at Champs they were playing FaZe. Decimate was behind like 2 players of FaZe that were doing a flank. He shot too early and effectively gave up the round 11. So yeah, big mistake on his part, costed them from getting further in that World War II tournament from what I remember. But of course that is kind of a situation where you remember the bad things, not the good things, because Decimate on the whole was very solid, and we saw that coming into this game as well, where he has been lights out on G2. Hasn't played of course since January at the Pro League qualifier, but has probably still been torching it up online, and yeah, he's been collecting a paycheck on G2. EnVy decided to buy him back out. And yeah, he is an absolutely deadly talent that could have the potential to be just a superb player. Kind of a similar situation what we saw maybe with Priester, who wasn't necessarily doing incredibly well on that FaZe team. Obviously, he seemed pretty talented, but they had a bad run at the Pro League qualifier and end up falling short of qualification. Then Priester goes into 100 Thieves in place of Fero and, you know, sets the world on fire. Maybe a similar thing can happen with Decimate here, and maybe even Fero can rekindle some of that stuff as well, because he has been absolutely dominating online play. Whenever I've watched, you know, tens and stuff like that, Fero's absolutely wrecking it, making a good name for himself that he still wants to be competitive here. So yeah, we'll have to see how this goes. It says here he's going to fill the main AR role, but Silly says that that's actually not going to be true. That's going to be Aches instead. So yeah, this is pretty much the rest of the thing. There's no quotes from the players, which would have been kind of nice, but yeah, that basically sums it up. And as I said right here, is Aches main AR now, and Pistachio says Fero is, because that's what it said in the article, and then Silly replies Aches is to clear everything up. So that makes a lot of sense. This is a tweet from Fero himself. I've decided to take my talents to the north, aka EnVy. Thrilled to be playing with absolute units by my side. Decimate, Huke, Aches and Silly. So, well, a pretty scary team. 100 Thieves say the following: today we part ways with Fero. Thank you, Fero, for being a part of the 100 Thieves and pulling through for the team during hard times. Wish you nothing but the best on EnVy and cannot wait until we meet once more on the big stage. Or maybe, you know, you don't want to wait, because his EnVy team could be kind of nasty. Decimate says the following: it's time officially on EnVy alongside the GOATs. London up next. Very excited to see this team in action. And then before we discuss the roster, let's have a look quickly at this roster update. Evil Geniuses Call of Duty, welcome back to EG CoD, Apathy, BZ, Brian Zelashnikov or something, I don't really know. So just to look at Apathy's career here, very interesting of course. He was on EnVy for a very long time, since Black Ops 3, went on to win Black Ops 3 World Championship of course, and then he stayed on the team the entire season, went to, well, still on Team Envious when they came second in Champs 2017, and then he makes back-to-back Call of Duty World Championship Grand Finals on Evil Geniuses. Then he goes to EnVy at the start of this season with the same roster, and now he's back on EG again. So it's a bit of a flip-flop. Thought this was a quality meme I saw on Reddit from Me Doesn't Do No Drugs, so EnVy and EG just playing ping pong with Apathy at the current time. Of course, as I said, Decimate also coming back onto this same Envious team. So yeah, personally, I think this team has the potential to be really good. Apathy and Assault have not been the players that we've seen from them in the past seasons. Now, of course, Apathy, he's gone on to another team, back onto Evil Geniuses. It's coming towards the latter half of the season. This is where Apathy really tends to turn it around. And I'm sure EnVy had that in the back of their mind, that Apathy always tends to be such a great asset. Of course, the last 3 Call of Duty World Championships, he's been in the Grand Finals. He is the kind of player that can, you know, he's a championship contender, he's a championship winner. You got to weigh it up, haven't you? Between, like, him potentially not being as good as he has been, but also him maybe turning it around when you give him over to another squad. Whether that will happen, we'll have to see. Maybe the trend won't continue itself. Maybe Apathy isn't quite the player he used to be, certainly arguable. But yeah, he hasn't been spectacular this season by any means. Definitely Decimate should be an upgrade. And then we have Assault, of course, which is interesting because he was the main assault rifle on this team, MVP at World War II Champs, and once again hasn't been as good this season. He's had a couple of, you know, fantastic maps here and there, really taken over a game. But yeah, overall, it felt like that's where the change had to come from. The team wasn't working, they weren't championship contending at the current time, and Huke and Silly were way too good, and it seemed like Aches could have been out the door as well, but maybe they did decide that in this game, people have figured out in Black Ops 4, we do need some sort of leadership character, but we can just put them on the ICR, and I think it makes a lot of sense having Aches, or really whoever, if they're your leader, put them on the ICR, and I'm really interested to see how it'll work out, because Aches isn't traditionally like a main assault rifle player, and maybe Evil Geniuses might even do a similar thing with, you know, JCat, but, you know, it depends. Phantoms is potentially on that team. They could even get someone like Assault back, you never know, and yeah, well, that would potentially mean that he might be the ICR. I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see how it works out for EnVy here, because typically the guy in the ICR role, it's the least impactful role on the team. You're relatively slow. The game really is pushed forwards by your SMGs and your Maddoxes. Your ICR can't really do that much. Occasionally making space on certain engagements and certain maps, the ICR is very useful. But yeah, Aches obviously is a very solid player in his own right, has been relatively good this season, from my perspective, all things considered. But it'll be interesting to see, because if you're the guy who's mainly making the calls, you're in the back lines, you're directing the troops from the back, and of course he is definitely, you would say, the leadership figure on this team, probably providing the most in-game communication and the like, then it makes sense for you to be right at the back of the action so you can see everything, and because you don't have to constantly think about flying around corners and taking gunfights, you have more time to think about how the game is progressing and see things from a bit of a different perspective. So it's interesting to see how it'll work out for EG with Aches taking up that role. I kind of like the idea, and I'm quite excited for it. And in terms of individual talent, it should be an upgrade as well on what we've seen so far. I think Fero and Decimate are honestly fantastic players. Also, one thing to mention is that it returns the trio ship, I guess, of Decimate, Fero, and Bevels, who is still the coach on this squad, from the Era Eternity team in Stage 2, I think, or maybe Stage 1 of the World War II season, when those guys were all playing together. It must have been Stage 1 of the World War II season before Decimate went on to the EnVy squad. So, yeah, very exciting stuff with those three guys being back together. Of course, Decimate and Fero got some history, incredibly talented players, seem to be getting better with time as well. So, I really rate this squad. I think it's one of the best roster changes we've had so far, rumoured in this season. I think they're better than the FaZe squad that's been announced. I'm a bit of an EnVy fan anyway, secretly. So, well, a bit of a Paddy P fan, to be honest. So yeah, we'll have to see. I'm quite excited for this edition. I think it should be an upgrade on paper. And yeah, well, I've been really interested to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. So yeah, Mudog says that Crowder is now going to be the sub on 100 Thieves with Fero leaving. So Crowder apparently he's been playing a lot of 10s anyway, so he's keeping up with it. Apathy says, of course, glad to be back on EG, got a lot of work to do, thanks for everything EnVy did to me, time for a new chapter. And let's have a look briefly at the Lightning Pandas here. Thank you for all the memories, a load of wonderful pictures, and this is their twit longer. Mr. Stuck, I don't feel so good. Following our relaunch in 2017, the past year and a half has been an incredible journey. Despite the odds, with the support from you, our loyal Pandemodium, we've achieved some unbelievable milestones, from placing top 12 of the Call of Duty World Championship, to attaining the full skirmish, to placing 5th, 6th at CWL Vegas, to finishing top 8 at the inaugural E-Premier League. We're incredibly proud of what we've achieved as an organisation of our size and stature. However, having narrowly missed out on the Call of Duty Global Pro League, which is because they placed 5th, 6th at Vegas, if they'd have won one more series, I think maybe against LG, then they would have even been in the Pro League automatically. And then of course they had that horrible run at the Pro League qualifier, which no one was really expecting. The impending cost of franchising, which of course is a big deal here for these smaller organisations. They've got absolutely zero chance of getting a spot in the franchise league. So, well, you know, they're not going to be able to be in Call of Duty effectively for the next season. So unless they take their focus completely elsewhere, you know, they've decided it's time to pack up shop here. And other internal factors, it is with a heavy heart that we announced the Lightning Pandas has officially ceased operations. From everyone at Lightning Pandas, we'd like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who has played a part in this past chapter of our story, and therefore Dave says the following: we are in need of an organisation to represent for CWL London and onwards. Team consists of myself, Emigrant Chain, PT, Hawkey and Maple. DMs are now open, and of course, you know, this guy Rahul, who has really put his heart and soul, I'm sure other guys as well. Lightning Pandas started way back in the day with like Fear Crads and Team YouTube and those guys. And yeah, to see it come crashing down again is very sad indeed. I've still got the jersey as a bit of memorabilia, I guess, of their time in Call of Duty. And yeah, of course, they rebooted in 2017. Whether they will come back again is unlikely, because with franchising coming into play, they've really got nothing to play for unless they get crazy investment out of nowhere to even try and get a franchise spot or anything less than that, or unless they just go through the amateur side of things, which really isn't profitable at all for an organisation. And of course, there's no possibility for your organisation to even progress. Even if you have a nasty team, your players will just move on to the better and bigger organisations. So, well, I would say a downside of franchising. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, like if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new. Thank you so much for watching, as always, and I will see you next time.
Eliminated battery. Eliminated prophet.
Sensor dart away.
Nomad down.